Go in. There we go. Okay, so we're going to get into habit creation. I'm going to try to keep this to 30 minutes, keep us on schedule here. Okay, this is the schedule for the day. A lot of you guys have seen this. You should have seen it. You have access to it. Okay, so we're in the second session. We're going to be done at 11:30. You'll have one more going over quality teammate before we have a break. What I want you to do is throughout the day, if you think of any questions that you have about anything we did in positionals or even things that we didn't cover, the final session of the day is going to be a positional hot stove where we're going to have multiple coaches in here and we're going to take questions through the chat about anything that we've covered, whether that's infield, base running, outfield, catching, pitching, hitting approach. Okay, all of those things that we've gone through, mental training or positionals, we're going to give you guys an opportunity to ask questions, make sure that we get those answered so that you guys learn, are clear on what the expectations are, any of those. Okay, so please write questions if you have them so that you guys are prepared to ask those when we get to that part of the day. Move this out of the way here. Okay. All right, so when we start talking through habits, okay, in our first mental training day, we talked about these 5 habits, okay, our ability to control the controllable, to attack each day with joy and enthusiasm, to compete against ourselves and try to get better every single day, okay, to be the best at getting better, to be relentless in our pursuit of what we want, and choosing faith over fear. What I want you to do is really think about the 8 weeks that we went through positional training, and I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in each of these 5 areas, okay? Be honest with yourself. Just like mental training day 1, what I'm going to have you do at the end of this session is take a screenshot of your notes or just a picture of it on your phone and send that to your team coach just so they know that you were actively engaged in the session. If you are with your whole team right now, that's awesome. Still take notes. You don't need to send it to your coach if you're with them, okay? But you guys will have a couple minutes to talk through that. All right, so I'm going to give you 1 minute here till 11:03 to outline these 5 habits and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. If you eaten. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now that we have those 5 habits, okay, the next step in habit creation is to understand what it looks like step by step to create a habit. Okay, there are 4 primary laws of habit creation to make sure that it's something that we can stick to and something that will be long lasting. That said, you are not going to be perfect in all of these areas, and that's okay. Okay, there's going to be a decent amount of writing that I'm going to ask you to do for law 1 and law 2. Law 3 and 4 is going to be more of adjusting what you've already written down. Okay, so law number 1, if we want to create habits that we're capable of sticking to long term, they need to be obvious. Okay, so when I say make it obvious, what that means is rather than I want to be a better hitter, so I'm going to hit every day. Okay, we want to be way more specific than that. And there's some different strategies that we can use. Some will work for you, some might not stick. That's okay. Everybody is different. The goal is to find a couple of things from this that you can really take away from it and implement in your day-to-day. Okay, so with law number 1, making it obvious, the first step is to outline what we call your habit scorecard. Okay, what that means is we need to essentially take ownership of what our habits are, and we need to be able to recognize all of those things. So what I want you to do is I want you to write down 3 current softball habits and 3 habits completely unrelated to softball that you have that you do every single day. Okay. And maybe you don't have 3. You don't have to make them up. If you don't have 3, you don't have to write 3 down. Okay. These can be very, very simple. So 3 habits unrelated to athletics. Hopefully you brush your teeth every day. Okay. That'd be a good thing. Maybe you shower every day. That'd also be a good thing. Okay. Those can be habits. So they don't have to be anything crazy. We're not trying to make things up. Okay. Be honest with yourself about those habits. Anytime that you're writing notes for me, unless I tell you specifically, and the next one you will write a full sentence, but unless I tell you specifically, bullet points are fine. Okay, you do not need to write full sentences. Okay, so I'm going to give you about 2 minutes here until 11:07 to make that habit scorecard. 3 softball habits, 3 habits unrelated to athletics. All right, so you guys should have your habit scorecard filled out. Moving into implementation intentions, I want you to choose one of the habits that you would like to add. Okay, so the habit scorecard are habits that you already have. So for this, you're going to find a new habit. Maybe it's something in softball that you're trying to get better at. Maybe it's hitting, fielding, whatever that might be. Okay, and I want you to write this sentence. Okay, I will, whatever the habit is, okay, I will visualize at 7 a.m. in my bedroom. Okay, whatever that is, the behavior, the time, and the location. Okay, I know that sounds extremely specific, but in order for us to take our habits and make them obvious, it becomes much easier the more specific that we get within those. If our goal is just, hey, I'm going to visualize every day, and you don't have a time or a location that you're going to do that, it becomes really easy to get to the end of the day and realize, oh, I totally forgot to do that. Okay, so one that I am currently doing, Janelle and I both are, is 1 minute of stretching before we turn on the TV. Okay. And we'll get into why it's 1 minute as we go through this. Okay. It's always easier to do something longer than what your goal is. But if you set a goal that you're going to do something for an hour or 2 hours, a lot of times we don't do it at all because it just sounds like such a big task that we psych ourselves out and we never get started. Okay. So by taking our implementation intentions, knowing the behavior, the time, and the location, we put ourselves in a much better position to complete that on a day-to-day basis. As you guys finish that up, we'll move into habit stacking, okay, which is exactly what it sounds like. Our ability to stack our habits. Okay, if you're stacking cups, you're putting one inside of the other. If you're stacking habits, you're doing one right after the other. Okay, so we now have our habit scorecard, habits that we currently have. We have our implementation intention, habit that we're trying to build. What I want you to do is stack those. Okay, so find something from your habit scorecard that you do every day consistently at about the same time. Okay, so like I said, showering, brushing teeth are easy ones to utilize. Okay, so after I brush my teeth, I will read 1 page. Okay, after I brush my teeth, I will do 1 minute of visualization. Okay, so when we put those habits together, essentially what we do is we automate in our brain our ability to do those things one right after the next. But if our habits are completely spaced out throughout the day, then we're constantly checking the clock, worried about time. Can we get it done now? If we don't, it's hard to do it later. Okay, so the more that we can take a group of habits and stack them together, the easier it is for us to complete all the habits, because all we have to do is take the first step. And once we get started, that entire process is automated. Okay, think about a pregame routine. Think about your hitting warm-up. Think about your infield warm-up. Okay, as soon as you start, you know what comes next. So you get through the whole thing. All right, so I want you to outline in that habit stack a current habit with a new habit that you'll do right after. As you're doing that, I'm going to get into designing the environment so we can switch slides here. But the last, it's not even a step, but the last key here is that you design the environment to be successful, and that environment should be obvious. So what that means is, in order for that environment to be obvious, our cues have to be obvious and visible. Okay. I've said this in multiple sessions, and I don't know how many of you do it. I'm going to brag on my own daughter for a second, something I saw in her room the other day to design her environment. But a lot of times, if we can take an expo marker, take a Post-it note, and we write out a power phrase, something that we're trying to get better at, something that we're trying to believe, a habit that we're trying to do, and we just stick that in a place that we see every single day, it's going to increase the odds of you completing that task. Okay. So I walked into Marley's room on Thursday, and on her mirror in her room was a Post-it note, and all it said was never give up. And I didn't make her do it. I was blown away that she had done that. But that phrase came up multiple times at her tournament this weekend as something that she was referencing as she was getting tired and the day got longer, that she was holding herself accountable to, that she wasn't going to let that tiredness sink in. She just wasn't going to give up. She was going to continue to fight. So you've heard me say it. If an 8-year-old can do it, you guys can do it, right? So it's very, very possible. It's a matter of intent and you making the choice to do that thing. Okay. So if you choose to not design your environment, it doesn't mean you're not going to be successful, but what it does mean is finding success consistently becomes harder because you don't have that reminder that you see every single day to start that habit or initiate the beginning of it. Okay. So law number 1 is to make it obvious. Law number 2 is to make it attractive. Okay. When we talk about making something attractive, that means that we're excited about it. Okay. It means that we're really interested in doing it. And the first step in making something attractive is to utilize something called temptation bundling. All right. The words of these things, or what they're called, is not nearly as important as the explanation or what they do. So don't feel like you're going to get tested on in your final exam. What is temptation bundling? It's not going to be on the quiz. Okay. The action of it could be. All right. So when we talk about temptation bundling, that is the action of pairing something that you want to do with something that you need to do. Okay. And there are 2 main categories of habits that we have, and it's exactly that: things that we want to do, things that we need to do. A lot of times the needs aren't nearly as fun for us, but we know that they're going to make us better. And we know that if we stay consistent, we'll see growth, but they're just tedious tasks. Okay. So by taking an action that we want to do and saying, I'm going to do this action. So now I got started. I want to do the first thing. And directly after that, I'm going to do this thing that I don't love. It makes it easier because you've already started the quality habit. So what I want you to do is write down, just right next to each other, 1 word, 1 phrase of a habit that you want to do, that you've been consistent with, that you feel good about. And right next to that, bundle that with a habit that you want to get better at, that maybe you're not great at right now, something that you don't necessarily love to do, but you know it will help you if you stay consistent in it. As you guys are writing that temptation bundling, I'm going to talk you through understanding your own culture and monitoring the culture that you're a part of. Okay. As you get older, one of the things that becomes important, not just in softball, but in everyday life, is making sure that the desired behavior for you is normal and accepted behavior in the cultures that you're a part of. It doesn't mean that you can't be successful if that's not the case, but it becomes a lot more difficult if you are in a culture that does not promote hard work. Okay. A culture that allows everybody to be lazy and feel bad for each other and do that. It's harder for you to step out of that and work hard when you're surrounded by others who aren't doing the same thing. Okay. So you become, scientifically or psychologically, okay, there is a lot of truth to the phrase that you become a mix of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, which means that every single interaction that you have is going to rub off on you in some way. If you surround yourself with people that have a bunch of bad habits, that have a negative culture, it becomes more and more difficult for you to not fall into the culture that you're surrounded by. So it becomes really important in your friend groups, in the sports that you play, in the schools that you attend, in every aspect of your life, that you're surrounding yourself with people who are going to build you up and challenge you, and they're not going to drag you down or make you feel bad for having big goals and ambitions. Okay. One of the biggest things I'm proud of on the FAM program is the culture that we've developed, the hard work pays off mentality, the proud but not satisfied mentality. And some of you were here when we talked through all of that. Okay. But what it does is it allows everybody to feel comfortable pursuing their best rather than people feeling strange for wanting to work as hard as they can. Okay. So that's the culture that we've intentionally created. But the question is, what is the culture that you are intentionally creating outside of softball? Okay. What does that look like in your life? Okay. So as you look through that, that doesn't mean I'm telling you, hey, you need to go and ditch all of your friends. Okay. But what I am saying is you need to monitor the amount of time you're spending with people who are not actively helping you get better. And if you are not actively helping others get better through the interactions that you have with them, then you have to look internally to figure out what you need to change to be a better friend, a better teammate, okay, a better person in your life to make sure that you're building others up at the same level that you want them to build you up. And the last step of law number 2 of making it attractive is developing a motivation ritual. Okay, sounds kind of goofy, but like we talked about, we want to do something that we enjoy immediately before we do something difficult. And then after we do that difficult thing, we want to reward ourselves with something. Okay, we have simple brains. Okay, we can all act smart and like we have all these great thoughts, and sometimes we do, but our brain is very simple. Okay, and naturally, humans were born to want or expect some type of reward. Okay, instant gratification was a thing from the beginning of time. People had to hunt to eat, so they would kill whatever they were going to eat, and then the gratification came right after because they were able to cook and eat. In today's day and age, we want that instant gratification all the time, and we expect that in group settings. We expect that at school. We get a grade, right? But we don't often do that for ourselves. We complete a task and we just move on. So finding ways, we'll get to it on the next slide, finding ways to reward yourself, even if it's just a tiny way, to reward yourself for the successes that you're having will pay dividends in your ability to stay consistently on track with the goals that you're trying to accomplish. Which brings us to law 3. We want our habits to be easy. Okay. So number 1, make it obvious. Number 2, make it attractive. Number 3, make it easy. When we talk about making it easy, that does not mean that you can't have big goals. That does not mean that your goal should be to win 1 game this summer. It does not mean that your goal should be to get 1 hit this summer. Okay. We can have bigger goals than that, but we need to take that big goal and we need to shrink that into small, easy action. Okay. So step 1 to make it easy is to reduce friction. What we mean by reducing friction is decreasing the number of steps between you and a good habit. Okay. We've done that a little bit in the previous 2 steps. So the ways that we've done that to reduce the friction is, hey, we're going to do this hard habit right after a good one. So now we don't have to have that mental struggle of, do I want to do it? Can I accomplish this? Whatever that looks like. Okay. I can tell you for me, when I started taking cold showers, my friction came after the water was turned on and I was standing in the shower before I ever stepped under the water, because I would just look at it and be like, this is going to be cold. And it took me 30 seconds to a minute to convince myself to do it. Well, realistically, I knew I was going to do it. And that turned into 30 seconds to a minute every day that I was wasting because I wouldn't just step in. So at the end of the day, we have to understand that taking that step is the number 1 key to reduce friction. If we have a habit that we're going to do every day, eliminate emotion from it. And the more that we can make emotionless decisions, this is a habit that I've said I was going to do and I'm going to stick to it, the easier it is for us to accomplish those things. Okay. The other way that we reduce friction is to not wage mental war against ourselves. Okay. And I see this every week through training, but the negative self-talk and comments of, oh, I stink at this. Oh, this drill, I'm not going to be very good. Oh, like the built-in excuses, get rid of them. All it does is increase the friction between you and the ability to accomplish the goal. If we can just focus solely on the task at hand, be externally task oriented, which means we're focused on the task rather than internally self-oriented, which means I'm focused on my feelings, we get better. Okay. There is a time and a place for feelings, but when it comes to habits, we want those to be emotionless. Okay. Take your feelings out of it. If you say you're going to stick to it, stick to it. You don't have to love it. You don't have to hate it. Just do it. Okay. We do that in small spurts of mastering the miniature. Okay. And this is step number 2. That means we optimize the small choices that over time will deliver an oversized impact. Another way that I like to say that is IG times T equals EG, incremental growth. So small growth over the course of time leads to exponential or big growth. All right. So if we want to see big growth, it's not going to happen today. That's going to happen with small habits done well over time. Okay. By consistently accomplishing those habits, we put ourselves in a position to see big growth. And a lot of you do a decent job of doing this, but where we all struggle is allowing ourselves to recognize those victories. So you got to figure out what that is for you. Some of you guys, that's the gym. Some of you guys, that's diet. Some of you guys, that's your hitting workouts. It's different for everybody. But once you develop and figure out what that is, you have to be conscious about recognizing when you're finding that success and reminding yourself that you just did something successful. Okay. So I'm going to share about my wife for a second. She is 4.5 weeks out from competing at the Arnold Classic. Okay. Which is a huge show. Okay. She's a NPC competitor. She does bodybuilding. She's awesome. She's insane. But her big thing is food, right? She has to be on a very strict diet to do what she does. And just because she's on a diet doesn't mean she likes food any less. We all love food. And I will get random texts from her throughout the week. And all they'll say is, just won a small battle. Didn't take a bite of the candy, whatever it was. Okay. Because it's really easy to convince ourselves, well, I can cheat a little bit on this. I can do this. And every time that you say no to that, you win. For me, it's going to the gym. For a while, if I didn't have an hour and a half, I wouldn't go because that was my full workout. If I had 40 minutes, it's like, well, I'm not going to get my full workout in, so I'm not going. But the reality is doing that 40 minutes is still better than doing nothing. Okay. So winning that small goal, hey, I did something. Okay. It's better than nothing. I said no to this. I said no to going to this party and making poor choices. I said no to my friends wanting to sneak out of the house. Okay. I said yes to a service project that might not be fun, but was going to make me better. Okay. Winning those small goals can be huge, and allowing yourself to feel the victory allows you to consistently win the battles. We do that by step number 3, which is the 2-minute rule. Okay. And this is where I want you to write again. So you've created habits. You've outlined old habits that you're doing. You've outlined new habits that you're trying to create. The 2-minute rule is looking at those habits and scaling each and every one of them down to something that can be completed in 2 minutes or less. Most of the time, the hardest part of any habit is starting. Okay. So when we have this giant thing, it's going to be an hour or 2 every single day. We have difficulty doing anything. But if we can take a task and we can shrink it to 2 minutes or less, it's really easy to trick our brain into doing that habit. I have a player that I'm working with right now in mental training, and one of his goals is that he knows he's got to get stronger. Okay, it's his biggest goal right now. It feels like his skill level's at a good spot. He's got to get stronger. And in week 1 of working with him one-on-one, the goal that we set for him, the new habit, was that every day when he woke up, he was going to do 1 push-up before he got in the shower or did anything else. 1 single push-up. Okay. And at the end of week 2, I said, be honest with me. How many push-ups on average have you done every morning? And his answer was 30. And I asked him, if the goal is 1, why are you doing 30? And he said, well, as soon as I do 1, I'm already there, and I'm questioning why I'm going to stop at 1. So starting is the hardest, right? So you don't have to have this goal of, I'm going to take 1,000 swings a day. Have the goal that you're going to hold your bat every single day. You're going to pick it up. You're going to put your glove on while you watch TV. Okay. Because the initial start of holding the bat, putting the glove on, doing something will oftentimes lead to something bigger. And on days that you have time, that might turn into you hitting for 2 hours. But on days that you don't have time, if the goal is to hold your bat and you still do that, you still were successful. You completed your habit. Okay. So it allows us to stay positive, to stay consistent, and to add to that habit on the back end rather than failing over and over and feeling like we're letting ourselves down, which is going to lead us to changing the habits or consistently failing them. Last piece of this is owning your actions. When we share openly and publicly our goals with what we're trying to accomplish, we hold ourselves more accountable because other people know about it. Okay. So for those of you that follow me on any social media, one of the things that I do probably 90% of mornings is there's always some type of motivational post of something that I read that morning or that I was looking at or a podcast I listened to, something. And the biggest reason that I do it is not for anybody else. It's for me to hold myself accountable. because I know that there are others that are looking at that. And if I don't do it, other people notice that I'm failing. Okay. So a lot of times when you openly and publicly do that, your level of commitment raises because you feel like you're letting other people down if you don't accomplish the things that you set out to. Okay. So I'm not saying all of you have to be on social media all the time and do those things, but find a way, find somebody, a parent, a friend, a teammate, an accountability group, anything that allows you to openly share, here are my goals, here's what I'm doing to accomplish these things, and allow them to hold you accountable. Okay. You cannot share it and then get mad if someone says, hey, I've noticed you haven't been doing this. What can I do to help? Don't get mad at them. They're trying to help you. Okay. So for those of you, all of you in here are on a FAM team, which means you have a built-in accountability group. You have built-in coaches who want to see you succeed. All of those people are great people to help you along the way in your journey of habit creation, to make sure that you are readily available, setting goals that can be 2 or fewer minutes, or habits that can be 2 or fewer minutes, winning those small battles every day to accomplish the big goals that you have. Which leads us to our final law, number 4, make it satisfying. Okay. So going back through them one more time, we have make it obvious, right? Easy to see, make it attractive, something that we want to do, make it easy, something that is easy to accomplish, and make it satisfying. Okay. Something that we feel good about after. And the easiest way to feel good about it after is to use rewards. Okay. It's a reward. That reward does not have to be huge. You don't have to buy a new pair of shoes every time you accomplish your habit. Okay. I would say that that's probably a bad reward, definitely an expensive one. Okay. So the reward can be a lot of different things. You love Skittles, eat 1 Skittle when you accomplish your morning routine. It's a reward. Okay. For me, my reward is the step 2, which is a habit tracker. Okay. Habit trackers are incredible things. They can be something that you create, a simple checklist. I find way too much satisfaction in coloring in a box after I've made a box for something that I need to accomplish. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm doing things that I need to do. And I love that. Okay. For others, maybe you're a younger player, sticker charts. Even if you're in high school, sticker charts rock. You get to pick out a sticker and put it on a board. That's a win. All right. And then you get to see that board fill with all the habits that you've created over time. Huge. Okay. But the other piece to habit tracking is that technology is big and we have the ability to use that to our benefit. So if your goal is you're going to go to the gym every day, you're going to step foot in the gym every single day. Okay. Maybe it's a 30-minute workout. Maybe it's an hour, maybe you have 5 minutes and you get in there, you get on the treadmill for 5 minutes. That's all you have time for. Still accomplish the goal. What I would say is download Train Heroic. It's an incredible workout app. It allows you to put in your own lifts. It allows you to track those lifts and it allows you to see progress over time. Okay. So now you're in a position that you are tracking your progress. It's a habit tracker that's automated. It's just an app. Okay. Maybe it's your diet. Download MyFitnessPal, track your food. Now you have all of the data and it's an easy thing to do. Okay. You can also track your water in there. Maybe you're just wanting to track water intake. Okay. Most any habit that you're trying to build, there is some type of automated app, book, something that you can utilize already created that you can track. Okay. So one big one that I'm going to mention that you guys have heard me mention numerous times is you all have an Always Grind book. Easy way to track your habit. You go in for your hitting session, fill out your Always Grind book. You just track that habit. And now on every single page, you see date, you see what you did, what you accomplished, what's working, what's not working. Okay. That reflective data can be really important for you to see how your habits are working, what adjustments you need to make to your habits, and how to continue to be successful in the future. So when we look at those things, a lot of times what happens is we feel like there's so much pressure to not break the habit, right? It's a habit. I got to do it every day. Yes. But that's why our habits should be 2 minutes or less. So rule number 1 is don't break the chain. Okay. Even if you wake up, and we all do sometimes, okay, you wake up, you're exhausted, your mood's not great, you didn't sleep well, you only have on a scale of 1 to 100, you got like 40% energy of what you're used to. Well, if you give that entire 40% that day, you gave 100% of what you had. Okay. So rather than, I just don't have it today, I'm not doing anything, give your best. And if your best is 40%, then you still gave your best. Most days it's going to be bigger than that, but allow yourself to feel those days, what you're feeling, but still get work done, be accomplished. Okay. So don't break the chain. Mark that habit every single day. Do it every single day. Okay. The more that you do it consistently, the easier it is to build. but we all will have days that we do miss. Okay. So if you break the chain, if you miss a habit, the next step is hold yourself accountable to never miss twice in a row. Okay. You miss your Tuesday morning workout. All right. I'll be there Wednesday. Okay. Stinks that I missed. I let myself down, but I'm not going to live here. Okay. It's one mistake. I'll be right back on track tomorrow. Because what you do is you prove to yourself in that instance that no, you're not perfect. You allow yourself personal grace to fail sometimes, but you also tell yourself that it's not acceptable for that to be my new normal. The moment that 2 days pass where you don't do a habit, you've essentially started the creation of a new habit, which is a negative one. Okay. So don't miss 2 days in a row in whatever habit that you're trying to create. So again, the 5 habits that we talked through initially: controlling the controllable, attacking the day with joy and enthusiasm, you versus you mentality, being the best at getting better. Okay. Being relentless in our pursuit, choosing faith over fear, 4 laws in order to make those things happen: making it obvious, making it attractive, making it easy, and making it satisfying. Okay. I would love to talk more with any and every one of you who has questions on habit creation, who has questions on mental game, mindset, all of that. Okay. So this is your schedule for the rest of the day. We're going to get started at 11:35 with Quality Teammates. So that gives you guys 4 minutes. And I'm going to put this on the screen. It's the only time it's going to be up here all day. Okay. This is my cell phone number. This is my email. This is my social media. Okay. I do not expect all of you to go on right now and follow me. I'm not asking for that. Okay. But I will tell you, positionals are over. I don't get to see all of you nearly as much. If you have questions on mindset, if you have questions on how to build a quality mindset, on how to improve your day-to-day habits, anything like that, I'm at the facility a lot. You can find me here or reach out on any of these platforms, and I would be glad to help you through it. Okay. We are still offering one-on-one mental training. Okay. That will be offered year round. We are also still offering 8-week, every single day online mindset training. It's different for every person. Some of you guys, it's a great fit. Some of you guys, you don't need it right now, and that's fine. Okay. But if this is something that you're interested in, you feel like this is an area of your game that you need to improve and get better, let me be a resource and help you. Book recommendations, getting you signed up for any of those things. Okay. Whatever makes the most sense for you. All right. So I'm going to leave this up while Coach Kathy comes back. We're going to get into Quality Teammate in about 3 minutes here. In that 3 minutes, all I want you to do, if you're not with your coach, take a picture of the notes that you took, send it to your coach so they know that you were actively engaged in what we were doing. Run to the restroom, get up, stretch, do whatever you got to do in the next 3 minutes. We'll get through our Quality Teammate, and then you'll have an hour break to go get some lunch. All right. Appreciate y'all. I'll be on this one a little bit later when we get into our positional hot stove.